Hey guys, this is Josh,
And Zach.
and we're here to do our blue Zendikar Rising preview slash review. Not all the cards in the set have been spoiled yet. We've already done green and white, and we're gonna kind of rank what we feel about these cards, how they'll impact limited and constructed, how spicy they are. That's a thing that Zach has come up with to kind of describe how unique or creative a mechanic is. Have we seen this before? Is this breakable? Things like that. Um,
Hey, Josh, watch out. There's a wave crashing
oh
over
my
your head.
God, geez. I'll just try to hold it back. I also have Magic Elbow. I can make a laptop appear or an old Macintosh appear with my Magic Elbow here sometimes.
If it works.
Yeah, Magic, it's hard to do. As we all know,
But
Magic is
either
hard.
way, that giant wave that is crashing on Josh's head is leading us towards what we're going to be talking about here with the new set of blue, right?
Yep.
So
Hmm.
basically what we're looking at is what is released presently. In fact, what we were looking at this afternoon, there's a couple new ones that came on the board already. So, this is kind of the flavor. We're getting slightly ahead of the curve. We don't know everything that's coming out, but what's the point of waiting to talk about it? So again, we are utilizing a list from MTG Goldfish, and we are watching it as it is updated live. So again, not sponsored, but hey guys, we love
Yeah.
you, right? So if you guys love MTG Goldfish too, you can always throw something their way and let them know that you heard from us here on our YouTube. But let's start it off with the first little thing on the list, and I believe this is going by. It's not even alphabetical. I have no idea why,
Yeah,
but it's
probably
Living
just
Tempest.
release.
It's a
Mhm.
it's a 5-drop. It is an elemental. It is flash flying, and it is 3/3. It's nothing special. It is a common. And the weird part was we were just talking about it. MTG Goldfish currently has the pricing listed as almost $8, which means that somebody decided to sell one already and they don't have it. So
Yeah.
they thought that it was worth something. I don't see the value in it yet. Josh, you?
No, it'll be playable limited, great card limited, but that's it.
Yeah. So
So
moving on, the next one that's on the list right now is Celindi Vision, right? The Celindi Vision, and I may be pronouncing that horribly. It
you say
is
Salindi, I say something else. Who knows?
right. You're looking at a 3-drop instant, two in a blue. This is one of the flip cards, right? So it gives you the opportunity to play it as a land, just as an
Probably
island.
a tapped island, I would think, right? A tapped.
I would assume as
Yeah.
much. I do
Mm.
not see the other side, but
Yeah.
going along with the trend for the uncommon slot,
Mm.
they either come in tapped or you can play them as their other side. So in this case,
Yep.
as an instant, it's one of the ones that is kind of the not necessarily best way to look through your deck, but being that you're probably going to play this in a deck that really likes to have instants and sorceries in your
Hmm.
graveyard, this one looks much better.
Yep.
This one says, look at the top 6 cards of your library. You may reveal instant or sorcery from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order.
Yeah. I could see this card having applications in Historic for like a deck that is a combo deck that's really looking for specific combo pieces that happen to be instants or sorceries, because 6 cards is pretty deep dig. It's better than opt, obviously. So in that regard, or anticipate. Maybe not as. I mean, it's about the same anticipate for the rate. So, but I think it's an okay card, and it's nice that it duels as an island. I could see it seeing play. Maybe not in standard so much, but maybe more in the historic formats.
I agree. I think
Yeah.
like anytime you can find a way to be able to cast it for the cheap, any
Hmm.
sort of like mana discount on top of that, and
Right,
then being
like
able to
a like
dig
a
for like
what we
another
talk
thing.
about, the elemental or the goblin
Yep,
electromage.
Goblin
Yeah.
Electromancer,
Hmm.
right? Currently in standard, you might play it because you're looking for another one of those pieces to potentially like removal or card draw or something along those lines.
Right.
If you already have that amount of mana out, um,
Yep.
you know, it might be a good way to take a limited format and then be able to find something that you actually want to utilize. Presently, I'm not certain. The people that love the instant and sorceries, good for you guys. Go for it. The wizard decks, like you guys love it. Like, and I'm sure that there are people that are going to be like, "This is my growth spiral." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, so
Yep.
good. anticipate times 2, whatever, you know.
Yep.
So
So
have fun
that,
with it. I would put it at probably a 2.5 for me, just
yeah.
because it does have that capability of like digging a little bit.
Yeah, in standard, I would even rate probably lower, but in historic, it might be higher. And again, this is one of those cards that might get better as other things are printed too. So,
Yeah.
so the next card is Concerted Defense, and in typical Josh fashion, I misread this and got really excited at first until I missed that little non-creature clause in there, and then I was realized that okay, that's not nearly as exciting because I thought this was like a really aggressively costed mana leak at first, but it's non-creature spells only. So maybe a upgrade to negate, maybe not, you know, depending. It's really situational. So it's one of those cards that has a really high ceiling, but maybe a really low floor because, you know, 1 mana to basically a sensor, you know, not that great. So,
Right. I mean, in turn 1, turn 2, it could be really important.
yeah,
And if you're playing a deck that is playing the party mechanic, it
yeah,
could be kind of cool later on.
yeah.
But it has that kind of like lag in the middle.
Yeah, I could see it as a sideboard in a party deck that wants to protect against board wipes. That's where I think it will be relevant, you know.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
uh, so next
Agreed.
one,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Next one, we're going to pass over this one relatively quickly, even though after reading it 2 or 3 times, Josh seems to feel a little bit more compelled
Only
to
unlimited.
like
I'm
it.
saying that they're, you know, because in a 40 card limited format, this does mill, it does provide tempo, it does draw a card, does a lot for 3 mana. You know,
Right. So Glacier's Grasp
yeah,
as a common, as an instant, does a little bit, right?
yeah,
But I think we've seen the a similar thing from the green and white, where we have these cards that have a couple different abilities to
yeah,
them, right? So in this case, it's tapping a creature, the controller is milling 2, and the creature doesn't untap, and then you are still drawing a card.
yeah,
So it all sounds good.
yeah.
I just don't know where it fits when you're only talking about it in this 3-drop slot. Like,
Well, it really depends on how supported mill is in this. And we've seen some mill cards already with the rogues, but we'll see. So, yeah, yeah. But, and obviously
my
in
magic
constructed,
water glass. Do you see this?
no, I
Look at
didn't see
this.
that. Let me switch back over. I was just going to say in constructed that your glass disappeared there.
It was awesome. That
Yeah.
was the great. I was drinking the Northern Lights, folks.
How'd they taste there?
That was electrifying.
Yeah. So I think we both agree in constructed that card is just not going to see play. So we can move on to the next more exciting card, which is Jace the Mirror Mage. Yeah. So
Right.
I don't know what to think about this card. I'm not sold on it. He might be good. He might be even worse than the 4-mana Jace, who I kind of said the 3-mana Jace was better than the 4-mana Jace, and this guy might be the. You know, he does have card advantage. He does have the kicker thing, so he scales. But he also doesn't protect himself. He's got no defensive abilities, and his card draw comes at a pretty steep cost when you have to, you know, kill him slowly to get that. So I don't know what to think about him.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. As one of the first previewed cards, I think that they almost put him out there as like that signature feel where they were like, hey, look, we've got a Jace in this set, right?
Right.
I think one of the keys again with this Jace is coming in as a planeswalker for the 3 mana casting cost.
Right.
So a lot of people are looking at it like, okay, so I can get him out there, and the first thing I'm going to do is scry 2. So
Right.
you're really using him for that mentality of being able to dig through your deck and then make him another target. So
Yeah, when you put that way, five loyalty for 3 mana is nothing to sneeze at. You know.
right. So now it's going to take the opponent a little while to get him off of the battlefield potentially, right?
Right.
And you're digging through your deck each and every time. You know,
Yeah.
if by that point you got a couple little, you know, blue bears out there that are being
Right.
able to block or
Blue
doing something
bears.
else.
That's adorable. You should
So
copyright
I mean,
that.
he can stick around if you do have the capability of kicking him. That's one of the fun things too,
Yeah.
because like what he's going to end up doing is having his little partner that is going to basically do the exact same thing, right?
And we got to remember something else. Baby Narset is rotating out. A lot of the planeswalkers are going to be rotating out now because War of the Spark is going bye-bye. So he's going to kind of fill that niche that will not exist. So that's something else to consider.
yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think people are going to play him. They're going to figure out how he works. They're going to work around it. I
Yeah.
think there's enough of like the super friends that are left
Yeah.
that it's going to be interesting to see how the new super friends kind of fit together.
Right.
So people are definitely going to include him in there in those control-y decks where they just want to find those pieces
Yep.
and then do what they do. So I mean, I would give him up front that idea, because he has 3 casting costs and you can start sifting through stuff, like a 3.5.
Okay, I kind of feel the same way. I'm on you with there. We could be surprised, like we've misrated these cards before, and like he might be 4, who knows? But yeah, I think 3.5 to 3 is good. So
Yep.
now this next card, Seagate Restoration, I'm actually excited about this only because of Emergent Ultimatum, because I've been trying to make Emergent Ultimatum deck work, and I think one of the problems is you want to have a lot of really, really expensive cards in your deck. But at the same time, it's hard to balance it out with, having the right amount of mana, et cetera. But this, because it's a dual card, it allows you to do both things at the same time and not kind of wreck the flow of your deck. So it might not be as good as I've actually been playing in Historic, what was it called? Something like Inspiring Insight or something like that, where it lets you draw 7 cards. Not nearly as good as that card, but because it's only based on the amount of cards you have in your hand +1. But at the same time, you also don't have to discard too, because no maximum hand size. So that's a nice thing too.
Right. And I think that because you have an idea for it already in a pre-existing deck, it
Right.
kind of helps you to feel like it's got value.
Right.
Other than that, you're looking at the same scenario where, this is potentially a land that comes in tapped unless you're paying 3 life.
Yeah.
Or it's your late game, which will potentially draw you cards, but you have to be in that like card holding.
Yeah, that's the problem, because it's a win more. Like if you have a full clutch of cards and you have 7 mana, you've already probably in a pretty good position. So do you really need to draw 7 more cards? So
exactly.
Yeah.
So I don't find it as exciting as you do.
Yeah.
But it's, again, one of those things that if you figure out how to use it and you're holding all of your cards in your hand and you can play everything, again, more power to you.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's going to work in like standard construction, or if it's going to be something that you can, like you were saying, put it into a historic deck and then
and bust it there. Yeah.
Right.
Okay, we can move on. I mean, I guess in a power level, I'm going to give it a 3. You're right, because it's a win more card. It would be great in Commander Magic. I think I would love this card in Commander Magic, but in competitive formats, that's a little tricky. And it's no Hydrocrasis. It can easily be countered. You don't get life.
I will easily say that it's a 2 for me, if that. I just don't see it. You're not going to play numerous of them. It really has no impact on the battlefield at all in the early game or the late game, because you would rather have a card that's going to come in untapped for mana, and you're not going to be sitting there at 7 trying to fill your hand with a million things because your hand's probably empty. So 2 is the high end that I see for standard or limited.
You could be right. I might just be, because me, I love to draw cards. So it's like, I trust Zach on this, guys. Don't trust me, because I'm biased when it comes to cards like these. So
and that it's a mythic again, like and a sorcery and all of those other things. So we're still hanging out in the mythic realm, but we are going to move forward. We've got Seagate Stormcaller. Now this is an interesting one.
Yeah, this is a kind of a Snapcaster, but not quite. I mean, it doesn't have flash. I don't know. So you kick it. So let's think about this for a second. You would have to have 7 mana to kick it, and then an additional 2 mana on top of that. So you're talking about 9 mana to get full value out of this card. That is a lot of mana.
It's a lot of mana.
That's a lot of mana. Is it at till end of turn, or is it just the next? This turn. Yeah, so this turn. Yeah.
The way I read it, right? Again, when it enters the battlefield, copy the next instant or sorcery with converted mana cost 2 or less.
Right. Why doesn't it have flash? I mean, I don't get it. It should have flash too.
I don't know how you're going to have that much mana to be able to like do it and then do something twice.
Right.
So, I mean, I look at it for like the 2 mana cost and then potentially paying 2 mana for something else. So in like basically your 4-drop slot or something along those lines. Again, it's not flash. It's only a 2/1 body. Uh, it's a human wizard. You know, I'm sure that there are people that are going to figure out a way to make it like much more intriguing.
Well, if it was 3 mana, that would make this card absolutely bonkers because of, I mean, not in standard now, it's rotating out, but there is what's that card with flashback, that copy stuff for 3 mana. I can't think of what it's called right now. You know what I'm talking about though. Make a token of a target creature for 3 mana.
Make a token of a
Card, yeah, you copy a target creature for 3 mana, and it had
with the mirror mage, not the mirror mage.
No, a kickback. It was a sorcery. It came out in
Quadruplicate.
Quadruplicate, because if this and quadruplicate is an infinity loop, if it was only 3 mana or less, but it's not. So unless they come out with a copy target spell for 2 mana or less, then this card could be crazy. But
yep.
I just don't.
Let's listen to Josh talk about the potential for how this card could be amazing if it was so much better.
If it was better, yeah. So I don't know. I'm gonna give it. It's still. I mean, I would turn my nose up at even costing in the basic mode, 2 blue mana and a.
But 2 or less, like, what is it gonna do?
I think it's put it this way: you have a shock in your hand and you have this in your hand. So for 3 mana, you're getting 2 shocks and a body. That's not bad. You know.
It's not bad. But how much are you going to get out of it? Like, who's going to sit there and say, okay, now you've got a 2/1 on the board and you shocked me twice? Like,
yeah.
What's your next step that's going to make this so much better?
Well,
like,
I just see it in one of those like low casting costs, kind of fast wizard shell. You know, a lot of burn, like a blue-red burn. You know.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there is the blue-red shell wizards that is capable, and I think that it is going to be surprising because there is going to be a fast game that's going to happen.
Yeah. And I hate to go back to historic again, but remember that blue mage that copies effects too, right?
Yeah.
So there's some, I'm not gonna sign up, but look at they price him at 15. I think that's very. We could be way wrong about this, but I don't know. I mean, he's a valuable card. I'm going to give him a 3.5 though. I'm going to say that because, even take the kicker out of it, just ignore the kicker thing. He still copies the spell. You don't have to kick him to copy the spell. That's what I got to say.
Yeah. I mean, I get you, and there's a lot of different things that you can do with those spells. So, there is value in that because basically you're getting a spell for free.
Right.
And there's a lot of low casting cost spells in between the blue and red that are going to give you that opportunity. Yeah. I don't see it going outside of the blue and red realm. There's never anything that you're looking at in like the black realm that's a 1, or even green or white, that you're planning on like dropping an instant or sorcery and making it work. So, it's definitely is it shell that potentially it's gonna do something like you said Snapcaster did, but in a completely different format.
Right.
Today's day and age.
So I think the next card I want to burn with gasoline, and why are you doing this to me, Wizards? Don't you like me to ramp? Come on, man.
Josh's anti-card. It is.
It's like my anti-card here.
Instead of Confounded Conundrum, it should just say, "Please no ramping Josh."
Right, because if anybody who knows who I am, like my 2 favorite things are to ramp and draw cards, and this is so. At least has the draw card on it. So like. That's annoying, man. They get this card is basically free for them because it replaces itself, and then it just shuts down Uro. It shuts down everything. Growth Spiral. I guess that was just like we've had enough of these. We decided to print Explore and Growth Spiral, so here you go. Here's Confounding Conundrum. Ugh.
Right, but there's enough enchantment removal that's like in standard presently, so it becomes a target. Anybody that is ramping. That is going to be in green, you've got enough things that take care of enchantments. So, it might be something that is a hindrance at first. It's probably better in limited than in, a standard format. But again, if you draft this, totally, because people are going to be drafting simple things like green-white landfall. So, because it's rampy and you get big bomby creatures. So
I would say though that if somebody played this and you did have an Azusa and you had landfall going on, that could actually work to your disadvantage because because it still lets the land hit the battlefield and then come back right into their hands. So they could replay the same land 3 times and get through landfall triggers.
That's true. Yeah, I mean, in that case, it's kind of a slap in your own face. Yeah.
Yeah. It's almost funny. Like I wish this actually was a mirror effect. That would be, because then you could do that in land, like just have a bunch of like, they have that new Dryad from Theros that does that. They have the Wayward. So I always bring this back to historic, but Wayward Sawtooth and Azusa Lost Seeking, and then the Oracle of Moldea. And then you add him in here, and then you could just keep on playing lands over and over again, cycling and getting all the benefits of it. Think about that with I'm speculating because it doesn't do that, so never mind. I'm just thinking about some of the cards that would make that funny.
I always feel like, in this case, the main thing is that the lands don't stay on. So if you're somebody who's trying to cast something at a higher mana value, you just don't get it. So, this comes out turn 2, and your opponent's trying to play something that is like a forecasting cost. It's going to be difficult,
Yeah, and even taking this into modern decks like Valakut. Valakut hates this card with it. This basically destroys Valakut decks that want to get like 7 lands into play by turn 4 or 5,
Yeah.
So that's,
So it's interesting. I think they printed it for more than just like the current meta. I think it was definitely one of those ones that they've thought about to be able to kind of spice it up for, all of the current potential gameplays.
All right. So Coral Helm Chronicler.
Yeah. Welcome back to Merfolks.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what your thought is here.
I haven't actually read him all the way yet, but he's got
really?
So whenever you cast a kick spell, draw a card, then discard a card. Okay, so he's got the looting effect. When he enters the battlefield, look at the top 5 cards of your library. You may reveal a card with a kicker ability from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library. Okay, I mean, that could be fun too. That's a lot of value for 3 mana. I like them. I don't know how much kick cards are worth it, but that's pretty fun.
Right, and we kind of talked about that before. I think the idea of playing a kicker card is kind of it's interesting because you're always paying so much more. So yes, there are like the kicker card discount cards, as we've seen already. Check out the previous video. But at this point, like, I don't see it as being something where you want to pay 3 mana to get a 2/2 body on the floor that is going to potentially allow you to draw and discard based on if you pay an additional kicker cost. So
I mean, it really depends. Is there a lot of 2 mana kicker spells that make that worth it? And I don't know that there are. So you're right. So
right, and then like being able to look for another kicker card, it to me it just seems like they're trying to sucker you into a kicker mechanic that it's almost non-functional. So
where's the payoff?
Unless I see something in a kicker that I feel like I have to play, I would never even look at that card as being something that I would want to put in my deck.
Okay, you might be right. Yeah, this card is completely situational. It's one of those cards that gets better over time as more and more kicker spells. I mean, they've revisited kicker, 4 or 5 times. So there's the card pool available. I mean, it'd be interesting to look at this guy in modern. Haven't done that in a while, but just to see. But you're right. In standard, probably not worth it.
So leading from that into the next card,
which is a kicker card, ironically,
Thieving Skydiver, which is potentially one of the only kicker cards that I actually care about presently. Merfolk Rogue. So I've talked before briefly about how I think rogues are going to be huge.
Yes.
And this one has the kicker of X, which is probably the only time I actually care about kickers, because X can't be 0. But so this thing comes in as flying, and it enters the battlefield. If it was kicked, you gain control of target artifact with converted mana cost X or less. If that artifact isn't equipment, attach it to Thieving Skydiver. So
the only problem I have with this card is obviously the thing that you want to steal with this is an Embercleave, and they get to discount their Embercleave, so they're going to get out a lot quicker than you can have the 8 mana necessary to steal said Embercleave. So that's the one downside about this. Or Great Hedge.
Very true.
Yeah.
But you get a flying Merfolk Rogue right here for 2 mana. And then if you do kick it, if they do have some sort of equipment out, it doesn't even matter. Like right now, again, we talked about this earlier, but what's one of the cheapest artifacts that is presently in one of the major decks that costs, I don't know, only 2 mana.
Or 0. Oh, wow, that's a good point. How about 0 mana converted mana cost when we're talking about the Stonecoil Serpent.
Well, Stonecoil, yeah, I mean, that's a
Oh
great
yeah,
one. I was
you
thinking
could.
about Clover.
Yeah, Clover too is another one that's funny as well, and that
So it really helps to be able to work against the Clover deck
right,
because,
and doesn't cost you a kind of a dead card when it doesn't show up because it's still a 2/1 body, which is not terrible, right? So
right.
yeah, yeah, no, that's a good point. And I just thought about like all the zero converted mana cost cards like Stonecoil. That's gonna make green very sad to play Stonecoil. They're gonna have to sideboard it out if Thieving Skydiver shows up because stealing. Oh, never mind. X can't be zero. So, well, no, never mind. It says X or less. So, yes, you can
Yeah,
still pay 1 mana and steal the Stonecoil. So, I take
right.
that back.
Yep,
Yep.
yep. Yeah,
All right.
so I think that card out of all of the cards, again with Kicker, I think that's the strongest one that I've seen so far.
Yeah, I haven't seen
Just
them all,
putting it out
but
there.
so far, I'm with you on that. That's the best one I've seen so far. Yeah.
Yep. So I would put that almost as a 4. I think in blue out of rares, I like that one as something that you could potentially pick up and feel really good about.
I'm gonna go through 3.5 because it really depends on what your opponent is doing. So that makes it, sometimes your opponent's not playing anything worth stealing. So that then he's just a 2/1 flyer
But
Merfolk
I
Rogue.
still look at it like that card fits into a party card scenario.
Yeah, he's a rogue.
So
So yeah.
it's a rogue, it's a 2-drop, and it's got more functionality than
Yeah.
a lot of other things. So
Yeah.
if you're in the blue spectrum and you're trying to put the party together, like it's not bad.
Nope. Nope. Yep. I agree. He's good and he can only get better. That's what I would say. So
Right, right. So we move out of the rares, and we have now settled into the previewed uncommons. We've got Dwari Disruption.
yeah, we don't know if it's I'm assuming Jwari. Yeah, it doesn't seem like a Hwari. Maybe it's Hwari disrupt. Who knows? Anyways, I don't.
We're always going with the soft J. It's
That's
2020,
right.
folks.
Yeah, come on. So I don't really have much to say about this card. Censor didn't really see much play. I mean, yes, it's the dual mode, but just countering a spell if the control plays one. Sometimes it's funny when you get them, and a lot of times it's going to sit there doing absolutely nothing. So
Right.
that's all I have to say about that
I
card.
like the flavor text on it. It says, "You worry too much."
Yeah, right. That's I could say to some people. Anyways,
Yeah, I worry too much about ever drafting this card.
right?
That's
Yeah,
what I worry too
yeah.
much
So
about.
I'm gonna give like a 1.5. I mean, to
Yeah,
be funny, but yeah, that's it. That's all I gotta say about it.
that's right.
Yeah. All right. Lull Mage's Domination is an interesting card using the party mechanic. No, never mind. Using the rogue mechanic to steal stuff. So I think the one downside about the Lull Mage's Domination costs 3 blue and X. Obviously, you get the nice three card discount on it, but 3 blue's tougher. I could see this going into the Dimir Rogues deck. That's going to be a thing. It's already kind of a thing. It's only going to get better. So, yeah.
Yeah, I hate the 3 blue on it.
Yeah.
And then the whole idea of -3 casting cost does not really push me over the top. I feel like the guy who made this got like really full on like a Dunkin' Donuts breakfast and came in late and was like, "I've got something for you," and just started talking like and put all of this down, and somebody was like, "Yeah, that's great." Like this is one of those cards that I think should have had the flip to it. Like there should have been an island on the other side.
Well, here's a funny thing too, because I was thinking, oh, what's one of the best 3 mana cost things you could steal? It's Uro, but this thing stops Uro, or Uro stops it because it's eating its own graveyard too. So it's like,
Yeah,
that's kind of funny, So
I don't get it, and I don't really like it.
I mean, well, here's another thing, like X casting cost cards. So Stonecoil's got all kinds of hate now because Lull Mage and Sky Thiever, but also Hydrocrassus. Of course he's rotating, but in historic, it's fun to steal Hydrocrassus for 3 mana. I mean,
Yeah.
but yeah.
I'm so thankful, Josh, that you are still keeping your head above water at this point in time.
I know this wave has been coming for a while.
Slowly but surely, these blue cards are just inundating Josh. It's a good time. So we move on from that wonderful uncommon onto the Merfolk Falconer, right? Like we couldn't have a swimming thing without giving it a bird, right? So
Right.
now we've got a Merfolk Wizard. It
Oh
costs
wow,
3 and 2 blue,
dude, that's
right?
deep.
And
A bird
yeah, I
with.
mean, so it's flying, and whenever you cast a kick spell, you get to scry 2,
Man.
right? So again, I get it. I know what you guys are trying to do. You're trying to convince people that these kickers are great. I just don't think that you're succeeding. Like,
Yeah.
I've been to that used car dealership. I know that they're kind of busted vehicles, right? You're trying to make a Merfolk deck that lives on kickers. You're never going to work because you're spending all of this mana to get nothing.
Yeah, I will. I will only say this about this card. We can move on. Is that 5 mana for a 4/4 flyer is always good and limited. So that I'll say that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You can say that. But
Yeah.
then I'll also say that by the time, if you were playing a blue deck, you would never want to pay just the straight up 5 for that. There's other great current flyers that are out there,
Yeah.
that are not rotating for 5 mana.
Yep.
So,
All right. So
yeah.
Merfolk Wind Robber, another Merfolk
Yeah. Great art
flying.
on that one, by the way.
Oh yeah, very cool. And whenever he deals combat damage to a player, that player mills a single card. Still, he's flying. He's got evasion. And then I love the fact that if somebody decides to board wipe it, and as long as he's done a lot of work, you can still sack him for value. And
Yep.
and I think me and Zach were talking about this and about the whole Merfolk or the Rogue shell. This guy's going to see play because he's evasive and he's that all important 1-drop. He's going to go side by side with the Thief's Guild Mage from M21, and they're going to do work together. He's not as
Yep.
good as the Thief, but the Thief's Guild Mage from M21, but he's not bad either. So
Yeah. And I think the mill mechanic we kind of talked about, I think that there's going to be some potential for that moving forward.
yeah,
I don't know how that's going to all play out with all of the other mill mechanics that we've seen.
yeah.
If it's going to be like the thing that you build your deck on, or if the rogues are what you're building your deck on, or if it's that weird kind of stitching
Right.
symbiotic relationship.
Well, I gotta say that I think it's that one where this is the deck I've already kind of worked on, but I just didn't have enough cards to make it work. It's the one that has drown in the lock. It has the Thief's Guild Enforcer. It has this guy. So the idea is you're and also maybe the new Vantress. I'm not new, but Vantress Gargoyle could actually see play now because it's going to be a lot easier to turn them on. The one bad thing about that whole setup is you're going to have Grafdigger's Cage in your sideboard because you're going to be revealing a lot of Uros, and you don't want to do that. So that's,
yeah, I mean, and that's, I guess, if people keep playing Uro, because again,
oh, they're going to play Uro, man. They're going to play Uro. I know I'm going to be playing Uro.
that's powerful.
Yeah.
I'll give you that.
Yeah.
I think we move from that 1-drop right to the next thing, which is the Ruin Crab.
Oh, this is a reprint, isn't it? Oh no, it's very similar to a card they printed before.
Right. It's an 0/3. It's got landfall whenever the land enters the battlefield under your control. Each opponent mills 3 cards. So we're talking about milling still, right?
This is what I'm talking about. Limited. This is going to be a card I'm going to want to. This is a total, and this goes along with that card I was talking about before, the Glacial Grasp. There is a mill deck in blue, and he's part of it.
Well, and this would be like one of the quintessential pieces, just like the Merfolk from
Secret Keeper or whatever, Keeper of Secrets. Yeah, I hate that card. But luckily, this is an uncommon, not a common, like the Secret Keeper was.
Yep.
Yeah.
The only thing that's different is once this is on, the landfall mechanic continues.
Right. Yeah, he's a lot more.
Where the other was a once and done.
Yeah, unless you had Runaway together. But yeah, absolutely. This guy could end the game very fast. Very, very fast.
So I would highly recommend, if you see the 3 or 4 copies of this, you can probably win out your limited pool.
Will mill finally be competitive again in constructed? We have to go back and review. They always tease you with it. Every set there's a couple of mill cards.
I don't see like a whole lot of the card draw. So like if you're thinking about like the tutelage, right? Yeah. There's not, from what I've seen so far, the astronomical amount of like potential draw a card, which is what would get your tutelage to trigger off at this point. But like I definitely see them throwing a whole bunch more mill mechanic.
I mean, It might be the rogue deck is a devoted mill deck, and that's the win con. It's not just an enabler to turn on all these other value things. Who knows? I mean, this is the kind of card that makes me lean towards it. Whenever you have a really good one drop that does something like this, it makes you wonder if mill could be competitive. So we'll see.
Totally true.
Yeah.
Yep.
So Sky Clave Treasure, another uncommon. Look at the top X cards of your library where X is 3 plus the number of creatures in your party. Okay. Put 3 cards from among them into your hand and the rest of the bottom of your library in random order. So it doesn't get a discount on the casting cost, but it digs deeper. And put 3 cards. It's any 3 cards. So
Right.
yeah.
That to me is like the big plus with this card.
Yeah.
That it's not just creature cards, instant sorceries, whatever.
Yeah.
Like you get to take 3 of any cards and put them into your hand. So even though the cost is much higher,
right.
It potentially is good.
There's some setup there, and it's not instant speed. I mean, I don't know. I like it in limited, obviously, but I don't know if it'll make it construction or not. We'll see.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give it a 2.
I hear you. I think it's that whole party thing too.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Oh, you like this one? The I think you like this one, Sure-Footed Infiltrator.
Yeah, we were kind of talking about this one briefly earlier before we started the video. I think again with the rogue mechanic, you got a 4-drop here. Again, 4 drops. Anything that's a 4-drop is outside of your elimination removal for black, which is huge.
But if he was 3, he'd be so much better too. That's the sad thing. It's like, yeah.
So, but like he gets the cool thing where you get to tap another untapped rogue, and he can't be blocked, right?
Yeah.
But then also, when he deals combat damage to a player, you get to draw a card.
My favorite thing to do. So yeah.
Those are a lot of really cool things to put on a card, and if you made him 3 mana, it's kind of
3 mana would have put him over the top, and he would have been rare. He would have been like a Shadow Mage Infiltrator or something like that. You know.
Right.
So I don't know. Again, it's hard to say. Like for 4 mana, that's tough. That's tough to put in your deck when you're competing with things like Questing Piece in the 4 mana drop slot. You know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And even if you put it in some sort of a ramp deck where you're sitting there and you're not waiting until turn 4 to do it, and you know, but then at the same time you're like, and I wish he had haste. You know what I mean? So like, there's other things that you wish that he had, and that's why he's still an uncommon.
Yep. So. All right. So Umara Wizard is another one of these dual mode land cards. So whenever you cast an instant sorcery or wizard spell, he gains flying and he's a 4/3 body for 5 mana. Okay. I mean, he's all right. He's okay in limited. I would definitely play him in limited, don't get me wrong, but I don't see him playing in constructed, even with the dual mode thing there. So.
Right. And from there, I just feel like, okay, we've talked about like the dual lands. It gives you that ability to have a land or to have a creature. In this case, we've seen it. He feels okay, but
I wonder if there's something that we don't know, because like it seems that Wizards has been very careful not to push the power level on any of these. Like even the Mythic series, none of them seem bonkers. You know what I mean? It's like, do they know that this, if they had made these cards actually like good, would that put them over the top? You know what I mean?
Well, I think that they had a really good conversation about how they felt the power creep was really getting like astronomical.
Yeah.
So they're trying to figure out a way to kind of like level it out, but then also still make it interactive and engaging.
Yeah.
So they were taking some of these things like we were just talking about and putting a lot of good stuff on them, but also making the casting cost a little bit higher again, where they had continuously been turning it down, you know.
Right.
I mean not everything
we saw things like Steel Leaf and
Rotting Regisaur.
Like, I mean, that card barely has a drawback. I mean, those are crazy. So I don't know.
A whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
So again, I probably won't pick it, and even if I did, like, I don't know if I'd play it. You know,
this is a high pick for me in limited, though. This is a top 5 pick for me in limited, by the way, just because of it.
I just feel like even if you picked it in a limited and you're sitting there, and by the time you get to 5, because you really want it, because you don't have that many creatures and you chose it as an uncommon, you'd be sitting there really unfortunate if you played it as a land early on.
Maybe. I mean, I just like the flexibility, because it basically, when you have a card like this, you can run 16 lands instead of 17 lands and not feel bad about it. That's the real advantage of that. So I don't know. I,
Yeah,
I could see
you might
like
be right.
I
I
could see
might be
like running
right.
a deck with like 5 or 6 of these, and then you're never going to run out of gas. You might be a little slower than the average deck, but you're never going to run out of gas either because
Yeah,
you're
but then when you finally get them on the board and somebody hits you with something that removes something with a 3 toughness, and you're sitting there going, "Well, that was a waste."
I don't know. We'll see. I think in limit these things are like I said, like we can't underestimate how strong it is to not have to draw to basically put a land slash spell in the same slot. That's really really fun to me.
All
So
right, so let's move on to the next
yeah,
one, which is a Wind Rider Wizard.
yep,
So moving from something that is a 4/3 for 5, we get a 3-drop that's a 2/2 with flying already. And
yep.
whenever you cast an instant sorcery or wizard
He does
spell, so you're
a
talking
loot
about
effect.
instant sorcery or an actual creature spell,
Yeah,
you may draw a card, and if you do, discard a card. So
right,
you want to talk about something that's a little bit more impactful at 3 mana,
right.
right? That's what you really want. He's already flying. He's 2/2. You don't need the body in the sky. You don't need all the extra mana.
Right.
And anytime you cast something, you have the ability to go through your deck.
Right,
So
which is always great and limited too when you're, you don't, another reason why the same reason, like you don't want to draw your 8th island. You want to get rid of that and draw something of value. So that's pretty powerful. Yeah.
yep. I rank the Wind Rider Wizard higher than the Omara Wizard. That's all I'm saying.
So yeah, in a pack that you had to see 2 of them, I'm going to go with you on that because of the 3 casting cost. But I would still high pick Umar Wizard. I would pick him in the top 5, probably.
Yeah, pick 9. When it's only that, the really weird card that doesn't make any sense, and a land left.
That's where you're going with it. Okay, we'll see.
And it's not even pick 9, so excuse me, folks, because that would be like, 12.
All right, so Anti-Cognition, what a funny name. And this guy's got like a unicorn, or no, it's like a laser beam coming out. He's got lasers,
Yeah, I
guys.
think it's like shattering his skull,
Yeah.
fractaling him.
I haven't read this. A counter target creature or planeswalker spell, unless it's control pays 2. Okay,
Yeah.
then that
If
then
the
you
opponent has 8 or more cards in their graveyard and said counter that spell, then scry 2. So basically, what you're doing is you are potentially countering it. Now the paying of 2. I don't know if the paying of 2 also goes away.
It does. It just says straight up counter that spell. So it's basically Drowned in the Lock. It's a second copy of Drowned in the Lock, except Drowned in the Lock had the destroy mode too. Right. I like this card again in the Dimir Rogue shell that you're trying to fill up their graveyard to enable powerful cards like this. So, yeah. And even in the non-8 card mode, it's not 2 for some reason 2 is so much bigger than 1 when it comes to like the tax on spells. Like we saw Quench. This is Quench sees play. So this is, I'm not saying it's as good as Quench because Quench does everything, but most of the things you do want to counter tend to be creatures and planeswalkers. So.
Right. But again, I like the flavor text on this one.
I think not.
I think not.
Yep. So I like this card. I think, I'm going to give it a 3 in a Dimir Rogue shell.
I know, and so this is your common, right? So this is the thing that's going to counter all of your creatures and planeswalkers. Hopefully, if you're a blue player and you're just totally into control and you want to mill somebody out, you're doing the mill deck. This is your card, right? Yep. That's it.
That's true too. Yep. So whether it's with rogues or without rogues, it does go into just the straight up mill shell too. That's also a great point.
Yep.
So
you get a bunch of those crabs with the landfall and a bunch of anti-cognitions.
And Vantress gargoyles, and who knows, sky's the limit.
So we move on to, the rest of our commons here. It's this fun thing. Once you get into commons, and we talked about this before, it's like, not all commons are bad commons. In fact, anti-cognition is probably one of the better things that we're going to see in this commons list. As we move down through the remaining list, if there's something in a blue common that you guys find really insightful that we don't talk about, please feel free to comment and let us know what your ideas are, because again, we don't see it all. You might have something or synergies or something that we're missing here. And again, with anything we've already discussed, but I think out of that list that you're seeing, Josh, is there anything else that stands out as being an interesting common in the blues? I
do have to mention Risen Riptide, just if you notice the art on that. if it looks
Yeah,
familiar to you.
yeah. Looks
So,
like it's right behind your head. I
yeah,
didn't want to
right.
bring it up.
Uh,
I want to thank who is the artist on that one for giving Josh a wonderful
can't even
comb
read
over.
it. Yeah. This kind of is like a I mean, not a bad version of it. No, it's a bad version of that cycling raptor. The
Yeah.
I'm talking about in
The flavor
Ikoria.
text on that is great too. Also, most days the sea is my friend, but only most days.
Yeah. Oh, but Into the Royal, by the way, they reprinted that. That's a great reprint.
Yep, Into the Royal is a great one.
Hmm.
I was looking at the so continuing to talk about our friendly rogues. There's the Zulaport Duelist. So you've got a 1 mana flash, right? Rogue
Hmm.
here, which I think is anytime that we get into that Demir flash, like the deck that is already existing and you can add something else to it. And again, not saying that I'm super keen on rogues, but I think that there's going to be a deck there.
Yep.
I'm going to continuously mention this. So when Zulapur Duelist enters the battlefield, up to one target creature gets -2/-0 until end of turn, and its controller mills 2 cards. So just saying, in that mill deck, here's your common that allows you to play a flash card that potentially saves one of your creatures that's blocking and gives you an opportunity to attack in response with the potential to do additional mills
Yeah.
in any of those fun rogue shells. So
Yep.
I think out of the commons, I think that's the one that stands out to me the most out
Yep.
of this fun list.
No, I gotta agree. Like a lot of these other ones aren't like field research too expensive, Yeah. So a lot of these things are like spell shield. Why? Why? Why did
Yeah,
they print that when they had dive down? You know what I mean? Anyways. So
yeah. So honestly, guys, again, like there's new stuff happening every day. We just felt like this was a great place to start. If anything shows up in the meantime that we didn't talk about, you want to talk about it, hit us up, let us know. We're always around and happy to discuss any of the new Magic cards, so long as Josh can keep his head above water. We will continue on with this cycle. We've gotten 2 of them completed so far besides our blue. So
yep.
it looks like next one in our cycle here is going to be black. And if for some reason you guys missed any of the previous ones, keep looking up the J&Z's Brew House links and let us know.
Thanks for watching, guys.
Yep. Thanks, guys.